Hello, fellow coders. Welcome to another tutorial, understanding the execution process of a C program. Today, we'll be unraveling the intricate journey a C program takes from its inception to execution. Buckle up as we explore the stages of translation, linking, and loading, shedding light on the crucial steps that bring your code to life. These are the three main steps that transform your source code into an executable file that you can run on your computer. Which takes us to our table of content, that is translation, linking, and loading. These are the three main steps that bring your code to life. Now let's look at translation. The first step is to translate your source code into a low-level language that computer can understand. This is done by the preprocessor and the compiler. The preprocessor is responsible for processing the hash directives such as include or define that are used to include header files or define constants. The preprocessor replaces this directive with the actual declaration. That means it expands those directives into what the actual declaration of the function or variable that are defined in the header file and remove the hash symbol. This results in an expanded source code or an intermediate code which is saved with a.e extension. The compiler then takes this intermediate code and checks it for what? Any syntax error. If there's any syntax error, you have to go back to your source code and then you correct the error and start again. The compiler converts the code into assembly language, which is a low-level language that uses mnemonics to represent instruction for the preprocessor. The assembly code is saved with a.wsm extension. Now the linking process. The second step is to what? Link the assembly code with the system libraries that contains the definition of the predefined functions that are what used in your program, such as printf or scanf. These functions are not part of your C program, but they are part of the C libraries that are provided by your operating system or compiler. The linker is responsible for combining all assembly code files and the system library into one executable file that contains all the instructions and the data for your program. The executable file is saved with a .exe extension. Now, this is actually what we are talking about. You start from your source code. After you have written your source code, probably the source code is where you write your code that has instruction with the .c extension. As you can see, this is our source code, like my example of our source code, my prog.c. And now, when you want to execute this file, you start. The processor will then check for what? For all those hash directive, probably comments, and if there's comment, the preprocessor will erase that comment. The comment is just for us instruction to know what our code is talking about. The compiler does not need those comments, and it does not use it to do anything. So the preprocessor we have to do what? Clear what? Those comments. Then if it sees any hash directives such as include stdio.h, include stdlib.h, and so on and so have you, or any variable which was defined with the hash directive or as a constant, it will expand that directive into what? It's into its declaration form. Then after it's done with that, then the compiler can be able to compile those that code. And before then, when the preprocessor is done with its work, it gives out a file which is myprog.i. Now it has changed from myprog.c to myprog.i. Are you getting it? Now the compiler will now start compiling. While the compiler is compiling, if there's any syntax error, now, if there's syntax error where you see syntax error, you say yes, that means you have to go back to your source code and edit it and correct any error here. Then if there's no syntax error, it takes you down to what? The assembly aspect. Now the assembler now, we then has to do its work after it will assemble those code from the compiler compilation file. After it's done, it gives you what? It gives an object code. You see my prog.obj or my prog.o. It's usually my prog.o, which signifies what? Object file. After the assembler is done and produces is object code. Now the next step is the linker. The linker then links what the object code with the system libraries. Yes, it links it with what the system library to enable you get those functions that is needed what for your program to function very well. Just like I told you, the linker is responsible for combining all the assembly code files and the system libraries into one executable file that contains all the instruction and data for your program. The executable file is saved with a word extension. Now, after linking, we now go to the execution process. If the compiler will check if there's any logic or data error. If there is none, you get your output. But if there's an error, you go back to your source program and edit your code. Then you start again all over from the beginning till you get here and you get your output. That is what the execution process does. So now the third step, like I told you, the third step is to load the executable files into the main memory, that is the RAM of your computer, where it can be accessed by the preprocessor and executed. This is done by the loader, which is a part of your operating system that allocates memory space for your program and transfer it from the disk to the RAM. The loader also sets up some information for your program, such as its entry point, where it starts executing, its stack, where it stores temporal data, and its heap, where it allocates dynamic memory. Once the loading is done, your program is ready to run. Then you can execute your program. That means you see all those instructions you give to your program, everything coming to life. That is just um for you it is very fast, but it takes all this process in order to get your code ready. That will be all for this tutorial. Please join me for my upcoming next tutorial where I'll be telling you more or teaching you more about C program. Do like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. With time you get to know, get your hands dirty in words, solving problem using the word C programming language. If you understand the C programming language better, then means you can understand every other programming language. Thank you.